Hi, everyone. I'm Emily,
And I'm Rebecca.
and welcome to Middle Part Podcast, a podcast where we talk about all the latest in pop culture, music, and fashion, all reminiscing on our lifelong friendship.
Hello, hello. We're back again.
Hi,
It feels great to be
we're
back.
here.
Although we're not together in person, the last two episodes we recorded together, so I feel spoiled. I'm like, we need to be doing that every week, but we're working mothers. It's not always going to be in person every week, so we make it work.
We make it work. We're doing our best. This week, or I guess last week, was really sad. Let's start with Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, I feel like we have to dive into it because there's so much going on, but that was really tragic and surprising news. Michelle Trachtenberg passed away suddenly at the age of 39. So it's always very jarring when someone that young is taken from us. And
Yeah.
it's crazy just because I feel like I haven't thought about her in a while. I feel like she was kind of like off the radar for a bit. So it just makes you wonder, like, what was going on?
Well, she did like pop back up. I think it was a year ago, or maybe it was even like 6 months ago, where people were basically, they saw pictures of her and they were concerned for her. So she made a statement like, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. But she looked really thin.
Yeah, she did.
And I have a sneaking suspicion that perhaps it was eating disorder related.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to speculate here because we don't know. The cause of death is undetermined. But the way she looked, it just was like eerily similar to like Amanda Bynes almost, where like there was something lost behind her eyes and like she just seemed like not like just something about her didn't seem like the Michelle that we known, like the light behind her eyes had gone out. And it's just I feel like it's another one of those tragic stories of how growing up in Hollywood just is such a dangerous thing.
When you think of her, what do you think of?
My first thought is Harriet the Spy. I feel like that is the first time the world was introduced to her, and I absolutely loved that movie growing up. I had the orange VHS Nickelodeon tape in my house. I watched that movie forwards and backwards, day in and day out. I thought she was the coolest. I wanted to be her. I love that she had that little like marble black and white notebook and she would write things down and she was spying on people. And she was like the first time I saw like a girl like aspiring to be a journalist. So I was like,
That's so cool.
she was really cool. And then there was like a really like sad subplot of the movie where like her friends and her classmates turn on her and she's like, have you seen this movie?
I haven't. I'm like embarrassed.
Oh my God, no, don't be embarrassed. But there's this whole subplot of the movie where she's like on the outs with everyone in her class, but like she's really tough and like she sticks it out. And like I feel like she had a great character, that Harriet the Spy. And it, it was just like, she was just gone too soon. That's the first thing I think of. What about you?
Yeah. I like It's weird because I actually don't remember any specific media that she was in except for a Euro trip, which is kind of lame because that I feel like is not people don't think of that as like a tent pole of her career. They
I
think of
think
like
they
Harriet the
do.
Spy or Gossip Girl, but like I think of Euro Trip. I actually loved that movie growing up. I feel like who didn't? We were like that age where it was like a cool movie. Um, but like aside from that, I just remember her as a presence. Like I remember her in the same way I remember Amanda Bynes. I feel like she was always there
Yeah,
growing
and
up.
she was. She was like one of the figures. Like we had Lindsay Lohan, Hilary
Hmm.
Duff, Amanda Bynes, Michelle Trachtenberg. Like she was
Yes.
one of those like young starlets that like had just a whole career ahead of them. And she was
Yeah.
really talented. And I think Eurotrip is definitely one of her like breakout roles because I feel like it was the first time she did like a raunchy comedy. I feel like she always played
Yes.
like the sweet girl next door and she's like really funny in Eurotrip and she's like
Totally.
she like stands out for sure. And it's just I feel like the circumstances surrounding her death are just really like uncomfortable. Like I would just really like to know what happened.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, one of the reasons I think eating disorder is because it's so common with young women, and it's very hard to diagnose that someone has died from an eating disorder, because when you say that someone dies of like natural causes, that could mean so many things. And I think that's what they determined, that it was like natural causes. But a lot of times when people haven't been eating, their heart just stops, and that's determined as a natural cause. Like, it's really hard to specifically say she died from an eating disorder because there's no real way to prove that.
Right.
A lot of times it's malnutrition, and it's just hard to prove that in any sort of like autopsy. Anyway, the reason I'm even saying this is because I just read this amazing book called Dead Weight. I highly recommend it. And it's all about like the culture of eating disorders. It's by a woman our age who grew up with eating disorders in the media and how they were portrayed. And so it's like very top of mind right now. So then when Michelle Trachtenberg passed away, it's just like the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, and just knowing that everyone was speculating about the way she looked and how she was really
Right.
thin. So I think you're onto something. I mean, obviously, totally, we're speculating. We don't know for sure. This is all
Oh.
alleged. That just reminded me because when Rosie O'Donnell released her statement about Michelle, she said, I know she's been struggling the past few years. So I think you're onto something. And this whole conversation is making me think about Millie Bobby Brown, too.
Oh, great segue.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have been seeing a lot of the content that Millie Bobby Brown is posting lately, but she just looks like, for lack of a better way to explain it, like all of a sudden a 40-year-old woman. Like it just looks like
Yeah,
she's had a lot of work done on her face, a lot of injectables, like Botox. Like she has this like really stringy, long blonde dyed hair. Like she just does not look like the Millie Bobby Brown that we've known the past few years. So there's been a lot of articles written up about her, and she released a statement just basically taking down all her haters and how upset she is that these grown adults are attacking her. And she's 21 years old. And she's like, you have to understand, I'm a child who grew up in the spotlight, and I'm a woman now, and this is how I look. And you have to accept that.
yeah. I mean, I thought it was really eloquently said. Like, she clearly was like reading off of something that she wrote. She was basically talking directly to the camera and said it is not okay for grown men and women to be dissecting the face and body of a 20-year-old. And it's like a tale as old as time. People have this image of a star when they first came onto the scene, whether they were like 8 or 11 or 14, and all of a sudden they're 20 or 25 and they look like an adult, or maybe like she has had work done, maybe she hasn't. Either way, it's her decision, and it's not right to be picking it apart in the way that people do. It did feel a little jarring, I will say, this new aesthetic, but I think the way she talked about it in this video of basically just saying like it's none of anyone's business, it does kind of make you like pause and say, okay, like she needs to grow up on her own terms. It's not anyone's business what she looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially when I saw her, I'm guilty. I was like, what is going on? Why does she look 45? Like she just looks 20 years older than she is. Like I was definitely judging, but after she released her statement, I kind of was like, you know what? Like I could only imagine how hard it is to be becoming famous at the age of 10 and then your teen years being on the biggest show in the world on Netflix, like having billions of eyes on you, like the kind of pressure that puts on you to look a certain way that speeds up entering adulthood. Like she didn't have a normal childhood. So it's kind of like,
Totally.
what can we expect from her? Like, of course, she's going to look like a woman.
Yeah, and I mean, I also think it's very normal to have those judgments or like look at someone, all of a sudden they look completely different. I feel like it's totally normal for you to be like, "Oh my God, what happened?" It's more the articles. Like I don't understand why that's like she even said that's not journalism. It's bullying. Like what are these weird articles being like we're not like out there writing articles about her body shape or the way her face looks. It's but I think it's understandable for just like the public to basically get used to someone who's like grown up and who looks different. So it's not like we have to be saints all, and be like, "Oh, I don't notice." Like obviously she looks different, but I think she was speaking more to just the literally these like quote unquote writers, these people who are writing articles about it. Like there have to be other things that you can be writing about.
Right, exactly.
I'm sure that it's happening to a lot of these writers. Like they're pigeonholed into writing about things that will get clicks. That's just like what they have to do.
It's true. The state of journalism, guys. It's all about podcasting these days.
True. It's true. Okay, so let's move on. That was really depressing.
I know. I feel like we like came in so hot on like the saddest note, but like I'm kind of happy that we got it out of the way because now we can
Me
talk about more
too.
fun things.
Me
Let's
too.
change gears. Um,
Okay, let's move on to Selena Gomez, her new song. I heard the first line, "Call me when you break up." Do you like it? I honestly I didn't listen to the full song. I just heard that first
oh,
part.
so I only listened to it once, but I will say I actually really liked it, and I think it has to do with the production,
I mean,
aka
obviously.
Benny, and then like the fact that Gracie Abrams is there to like tag team the vocals and
Hmm.
just her presence. I think everything about the song is good besides her, of course.
I also just think I don't know. I'm about to say something very controversial. I really think Gracie Abrams is just like a B.
Interesting. I
Not
know.
even
I
on
feel
the
like I've
song,
been
just like
trying to get you to like be into Gracie Abrams for like over a year, and like you just, it's not happening.
I just like don't I just this isn't to say that she's not talented. Like she clearly has a good voice. She's a good songwriter, obviously. I just have a really hard time believing that without her father and connections that she would have anywhere near the success that she has. There's nothing that differentiated about her. Like I think there's like we have Sabrina Carpenter, we have Olivia Rodrigo, and we have Taylor Swift, and they all make similar music that's better.
No, I agree. I mean, I do like that. I like That's So True. That song is like very catchy and it
Said
caught
that I
on
was
top.
fine.
I lost it. Fine.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's again like it's fine. It's a good song. It's just like I don't have enough room for these like sad like she just is she reminds me of so many other artists except she's not as good as them.
Yeah. No, I agree that like she is kind of doing the same like sad girl, my heart is broken thing that like Taylor and Sabrina and
Which
Olivia
I'm
did too.
down for. Like I love Sad Girl Heart is Broken. I just don't think she does it like that well or in a way that I would take listening time away from my other girlies like Chapel, Olivia, Sabrina to listen to her. I'm just like so bored.
No, I mean that's really fair. I will say she has a sickening body and she is really hot, but like the other girls
Okay.
do too.
And there's not a reason to listen to her.
I definitely like don't go out of my way to listen to her music. Like when That's So True comes on my like Spotify shuffle, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I like this song." But I'll never like
Mhm.
search Gracie Abrams in my Spotify to like listen to her stuff.
Right, because it's not that good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's a really good like opener. Like I think her opening for Taylor was like a great fit, but like I just don't she's not like a headliner.
No.
She's never going to be like headlining Coachella. We'll say that.
Oh my god, definitely not.
But you know what? Maybe she'll prove us all wrong.
Yeah, open to it. So anyway, basically there's nothing about this song that I liked.
I honestly, I thought it was I like the beat. I thought it was
Yeah.
catchy, but like that's
It's a
all
good beat.
Benny. I like the beat, but
Totally.
that's all Benny. I do think this is one of the better songs that she's put out in years. So I think,
Mhm.
this marriage will be good for her music and hopefully
Yes.
every other part of her life as well. But yeah, I mean, she just continues to be Selena Gomez. What can we say? We talk
Right.
about her every week.
Right.
It was so funny. I This is a good segue. I was at an Oscars party. So every year my friends
Oh
host
yeah.
an Oscars viewing party, which is so much fun. Like the Oscars are my Super Bowl personally because I love movies. My husband loves movies. We like to see everything. Um, Zach's definitely going to call me out on that because he's more of the movie person than I am, but it's fine. I'm also here for
You're
the laugh.
allowed you've been with each other for over 10 years. Like you're allowed to claim that now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's why we work so well together. It's just like a common shared passion of ours, the
Totally.
cinema and film. So, where was I going with this? Oh,
Oscars.
Oscars. So Selena was at the Oscars. She was presenting an award, and someone at the party was like, "I have a hot take about Selena Gomez." And I just like, my head on a swivel. I'm like, "Tell me."
Yeah.
And I was like, before he could even say anything, I was just like, "Talentless hack." And he was like, "Come here, give me a hug." And we literally had a warm embrace. He was like, "Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that." He's like, and I'm like, "Professional victim." He's like, "You took the
That
words right out of
is
my mouth." So
that is so okay, if we're at a place where the straight men are
well,
picking
he's
up on
gay.
this, oh,
That changes
okay.
things.
It definitely
A
changes
straight
things
man
because
could never.
right, that's why I was like, if we're at that level, like she really is doing too much.
No, no, no. It's just the
Yeah.
girls and the gays still, but it was
Yeah.
still like a nice bonding moment.
Of course. I mean, who doesn't think that way though?
I think like a straight man would just be indifferent towards her. Like I don't
Yeah,
think
of course.
like I feel like there's just really sick Jelena fans still out there, which is crazy because if they're a Jelena fan, that means they're our age.
Right, right. These are not Gen Z.
No, it's like deranged 30-year-olds. Let's be real, 35.
Probably a little younger because I think we were a little old for that fandom. Like I think I might have been the oldest person in that fandom.
Okay, that's fair. So yeah, they're probably like
Like
20,
29,
yeah, 29 to 31. Oh,
truly.
okay. This is a good segue to the Oscars. I think overall it was like a pretty boring show. Like there's really
So I have my list ready of my best and worst dressed. I thought this Oscars pulled some of the best looks. So I want to
oh.
start with Ariana Grande. What?
I said, "Oh, I'm shocked." Okay. I feel like
Really?
there was nothing that like jumped out at me. Like I wasn't like dying
Okay,
for it. I
so
like the Vanity Fair after party looks better than a lot of the Oscar looks, but I think that's normal.
that is definitely normal because people have more fun.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, lay it on me.
So Ariana Grande and Schiaparelli,
Yeah, I loved this.
I thought it was exquisite. I also, again, because I saw this dress go down the runway, it's just seeing Schiaparelli or like a dress that you love, specifically a Schiaparelli dress, which is like usually extremely well crafted out in the wild, especially on someone like Ariana Grande, who I feel like really wears clothes well, was just very exciting. Something about it is just like so magical.
Yeah, I thought it was like really beautiful, really unique. I mean, it looked like a lampshade. At first, I was like, wait, that's so weird. But
Yes.
then I adjusted to it and I loved the color. I thought it looked beautiful, ethereal. It was very Glinda. Yeah, I think
Yes.
she looks
It's like
stunning.
a dream bat mitzvah dress.
Yeah, definitely.
Gal Gadot in Prada.
Gorgeous. I mean, she always looks gorgeous.
She looks incredible. Our girl Paige DeSorbo, I really did not like what she was wearing.
I thought it was like as a presenter on the red carpet, as someone like interviewing someone, I think it was appropriate. It's like just a classic, like old Hollywood glitzy gown. I
Yeah,
I feel like a lot that's like
it was fine.
like what a lot of them wear. But speaking of Paige, I was felt like very proud of Hannah and Paige for how they hosted the Vanity Fair red carpet. I just feel like it's huge for podcasters, so we love to see two podcasters out there doing their thing. Um, Also, like I feel like they were just so themselves. Like they were just I feel like it was like the same kind of rapport that they have on Giggly
Definitely.
Squad, like just like laughing and like making fun of themselves, making fun of the people they were interviewing in a playful way. Um, and I just feel like this is like what Paige has always wanted. And I feel like
Totally.
I'm just glad that she kind of like cut Craig loose because Craig was kind of like a like
Holding her back.
holding her back. Like I feel like she wouldn't be able to do shit like this if she was with Craig.
No, totally. I thought Kim Kardashian looked ridiculous
Same.
in Balenciaga.
That white dress.
It
Wait,
looked
I wait,
just
before we move on to
insane.
Kim, I had one other thought about Paige.
Yes.
Um, I feel like this is like I wouldn't be surprised if this season of Summer House is her last. I feel like now that she's doing shit like this, like she really doesn't need Summer House. Like that's like I feel like now that like Lexi and Bailey and like girls like that have entered the house, and she said herself she feels so old.
Yeah.
I could just see this. I feel like if Paige leaves, it's like she's like kind of one of the last pieces holding the house together. Like if she leaves, the old guard is gonna exit and then like a new guard will come in.
I agree. I just wonder how much they would pay her to stay because it's a really like good gig. Like she probably has to film for like 5 weeks or whatever it is, 6 weeks, and she probably gets paid what, like $300,000 for the summer?
I know, it's easy money. It's true. But I just feel like at this point, like her brand has evolved past Bravo. And like if
Totally.
she's I mean, like, I feel like the Vanity Fair red carpet is like the big leagues.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I agree, but I don't know, being associated with Bravo and Andy, like look at Lisa Vanderpump. Like it definitely doesn't have to be dragging her down.
No, and it's not. I mean, she's like so beloved. I feel like she has the highest approval rating on the network.
Totally. Totally.
I just thought it was interesting. I'm like, maybe we're entering the next phase of her career. Okay, anyways, moving on.
My best dress, Zoe Saldana. I loved both of her looks. Um, she wore Saint Laurent to the party as well as to the Oscars.
I have to say, I really hated Zoe Saldana's after party look. It looked like he was
Really?
like, I mean, I love Center Stage, and she is one of the best parts of that movie, but it just like was kind of giving like Center Stage. Like the top was like a leotard, and then the bottom was like a tutu. And
That's a really good point.
I just really didn't like it. I thought it was very strange, but I thought the the dress that she wore to the actual Oscars was like interesting. I didn't
I
love it,
loved
but
it.
a lot of people loved it. I mean, it was very divisive. You either loved it or you hated it.
Yeah.
I, except for me, who I'm actually kind of in the middle. I absolutely love Zoe Kravitz's butt crack outfit at
It
the
was
after party.
so
That was
good.
my absolute favorite look of the night. I loved how like in the front it was just like very like conservative, all covered, like long sleeve to the floor, black dress, and then in the back it was just full ass.
Full party. I loved Cynthia Erivo's both of her looks, Vivian Westwood. So for the after party, she wore this like asymmetrical sheer dress. And then when she was performing with Ariana, she wore this very big white, like floral dress um, with a corset with like big bulbous flowers all over it. It just looked amazing.
Yeah, yeah, she looked beautiful, and I loved her and Ariana's performance at the
Oh my
beginning of the
God.
night. I mean, it was like
Chills.
yeah, I mean overall it was such a boring show, but that was like a great way to open up an otherwise boring show.
Totally. I also, did you see what Molly Gordon was wearing?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, I thought she looked so pretty. She was wearing Carolina Herrera. I actually I thought a lot of the looks, interestingly, were very like prom like. Like a lot of them were like kind of variations of what Ariana Grande was wearing. Like that hers was the best because it was Schiaparelli, but it's just really interesting the amount of like poof dresses there were.
I know. Yeah, it was very I feel like a lot of like sparkles, sequins,
Yes.
and that is very prom like. Also a lot of people wearing black.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like Oscars-esque.
I
It's like a
guess
very serious night. Like people feel very serious at the Oscars.
yeah, that's true. I just you know how I feel about black. I'm not a fan.
I didn't know that.
I feel like we've talked about this before. Like if I'm gonna wear a neutral, I like a cream or a white or a beige versus a
Mm,
black. And then also I just find black to be really boring, even though it doesn't have to be. Like Zoe Kravitz's outfit was
right.
black, but like
Totally.
all the details were like what made it so exquisite. But there's just
Yeah,
some
I respect that. I definitely love black, but I totally respect what you're saying.
yeah, no, I know that I'm like alone on this island. I feel like most people love black. It's just I don't think I look good in black.
I
Even
think,
though
you know what it
everyone
is?
looks good in black, I just don't think
I
I
have
do.
a take. I think it's because you're so petite.
Maybe.
I feel like black maybe is just like too heavy on you.
It could be that. Like, yeah, I guess I just need more like dimension and color or like a pattern to
Yeah.
feel like I could take up space in a room.
Yeah.
if
Oh my
I'm wearing
God.
black,
You're hidden.
I'm just hidden. I'm just like
No one can see
I'm
you.
just a bookmark in a book. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thought. Maybe that's it. Also, I think my
Yeah.
hair is so dark too that I'm like I feel like I need a contrast with the color of my hair.
And you're tan. So like I feel like you can wear lighter colors, and to your point, it does add dimension. Whereas if I wear white, I'm literally just a floating cloud. You can't like you
She's the
can't
Victorian
tell.
doll.
Right, you can't like tell the difference between like my features. It's just like this amorphous white blob.
No, not amorphous.
Thank you. Do you know what amorphous means?
No. I'm picturing a cloud.
Amorphous. I knew you thought it meant like fat, just the way you said it. I was like, it doesn't mean
No,
fat.
does it mean like translucent?
No, it means like
I didn't think fat.
okay, it means like without edges. Like amorphous, if I have like an amorphous idea, it's like
Mm,
kind of a
uncontained.
yeah, uncontained or not structured yet. It's kind of this like out there thing. Like it's kind of amorphous. I can't really pinpoint it.
Okay, that's great to know. That's going to be my vocab word of the week. I feel
Yes.
like that was like an SAT word that really stuck with you or something.
Totally. I really love that word.
Amorphous. Okay.
It's
Hope
like
it's not
yeah.
sporadically.
Hope it's not amorphous.
Oh, that's good.
And I was like, and you're like, no, not amorphous. I'm like, you don't know what that word
Anything
means.
but that. Emily, don't talk about yourself like that. You know, when it's like your
Okay.
friends talking badly about themselves and it's like, hey, don't talk about my friend like that.
With what do you mean? Just like generally, that's what you're
Like if you
saying?
were like disparaging yourself and I was like trying to like build you
No,
up
I
and I was like,
know.
don't talk about yourself like that.
That's exactly why I knew you didn't know what the word meant. Because that's what it
You
was
got me.
giving. You're like, not amorphous, Emily.
Not,
Like, don't say
come
that.
on. Come on. Okay, anywho, so I mean, I don't have like outside of the fashion, I feel like the awards themselves, like everything was pretty predictable, besides the
Yeah.
fact that Mikey Madison won for Best Actress in a Leading Role over Demi Moore. And
Yes.
I think that was kind of crazy because Demi pretty much had it like locked in up until about a week ago. There was like some award show, maybe I think it was like the SAG Awards, where Mikey won, and then all of a sudden, I think the momentum just shifted in her direction, where everyone was like, "Wow,
Mm,
you know what? That was a really great performance." And it was. I'm gonna like stand on my Honora soapbox in a moment because Honora was absolutely my favorite movie of the year. I cannot stress enough how much everyone needs to watch it. It was so
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really
You would
excited.
love it. It's so good. It's funny, it's sad, it's moving, it makes you feel so many different things. And I think, and it won Best Picture, which it absolutely should have. I was just like so relieved that Honora won because it's literally always a movie like Conclave, The Pope is Dying, or The Brutalist, I Survived the Holocaust. Like,
Right.
it's always heavy, it's always depressing, it's always 3 hours long, but like Honora is just a breath of fresh air, but like
Yeah.
also like grabs you by the neck and suffocates you at the same time.
I
Um,
love it.
I think and Sean Baker won for directing, editing, and original screenplay because he wrote, edited, and directed it. So it's like
That's
it's
incredible.
incredible. It's an independent movie. It was made for $6 million. They
I
filmed.
saw his speech, which I
I
loved.
loved his
The
speech.
indie lifers, raise your hand.
Yes, I just absolutely loved his speech about like don't let the I loved his speech just about how like don't let the love of going to the movies die. Like take your kids to the movies, like have that movie going experience and like
Was that his speech? I thought it was the one about being like an indie lifer.
well he won 4 times, so he had like four different speeches.
Oh,
So I was thinking I guess that was the last speech of the night when they won for Best Picture. He said like go to the movies.
Got it.
and like tells stories like no matter how small they are, like this is proof that like, you could win on the biggest stage.
Yep.
Um, but so I guess I'll just go into my Honora soap, but I'll just stand on
Yes,
my
let's
Honora
hear it.
soapbox like while I'm here. Um, when he was making one of his speeches, he said like the goal of this movie was to be really open ended and have like everyone that sees it take away something different or like feel something different. It was supposed to be like very subjective, open ended, and I completely felt that way. There's a lot of different themes here. There's the power dynamics between men and women, family dynamics, class system differences, the way that. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Sean Baker, which honestly I think most people wouldn't be before this, but he has made a lot of other great small independent movies about disenfranchised people. He directed The Florida Project and this other movie called,
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
yeah, and then this other movie called Red Rocket. And I think that he just does such a great job of showing these people that you wouldn't necessarily be rooting for at all. And then by the end of the movie, you just like want to give them a really big hug. Like he's just so good at bringing humanity to stereotypical people that like society kind of casts out and looks down on. And he just makes you see the humanity in everyone. And that's really what Honora was for me. And I thought Mikey Madison was like spectacular. I really do think it was an incredible performance. How it was just like really ironic how Demi Moore lost to a 25-year-old after her whole performance in The Substance was being about aging out of Hollywood and hating herself. So that was kind of a dark, sad moment, I would say. Not to say that like Mikey Madison didn't deserve to win because she did. I think her
Yeah,
her performance was like really nuanced and layered where Demi Moore's performance was like pretty straightforward. Not that it wasn't like a powerful, moving, incredible performance. I
totally.
just think like The Substance is like very in your face with what it's trying to say and like there's nothing like everything is just up front on the table, whereas
Right.
Honora, it's like really makes you think. It really makes you like contemplate a lot of different like aspects of life. Where The Substance is just like, yeah, people are really shitty like to women who are aging, and that is an important
Totally.
story to tell. And the way they told the story was incredible, although disgusting. But they were trying to
Yeah,
do something there, and they did it.
they did it.
They did it. But also just the fact like Demi's story of like she was never recognized and now she's finally being
Yeah.
recognized, so it felt like it really was her moment to have, and then like at the last moment it was like snatched from her by like this hot 25-year-old newcomer.
I agree with all of that. I haven't seen Nora, but like taking your word for it because I'm totally sold, and then also like the Academy's word for it because it just seems like an amazing movie, and she's apparently amazing. Um, I mean, The Substance, in my opinion, which who knows what that's worth, but was not an Oscar worthy movie. Like I know we're not talking about the movie, we're talking about Demi Moore's
Hmm.
performance, but I feel like the movie, and I liked it. I really thought it was interesting, but it was like I don't know. I don't think it was like an Oscar winner. And Demi Moore's performance was incredible, but I don't know. I think both things can be true where
Mikey.
Mikey Madison's performance was Oscar worthy and Demi's performance was Oscar worthy. Like, and it's upsetting that she didn't win, but it also doesn't have to mean that like it was inherently better.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I also think that she won the Golden Globe and she got to like tell that story of like I was just a popcorn actress and now
Right.
I'm finally being recognized. And so it's like she had that
Right.
moment already. It's a really great
And
like
she's
Golden
Oscar
Globe story.
nominated.
Yes, no one can take that away from her. And you know who's
Totally.
not Oscar nominated? Ashton
Ashton
Kutcher.
Kutcher.
Yes.
Fuck that
Fuck
guy.
that guy. And like I mean, he once said that like it was always his dream to like win an Oscar and like we just know that's never going to happen because he's
No.
also a talentless hack. And
Yes, he really is. He like when I think of him, I really think of him in like Just Married with Brittany Murphy. Um, what else? Dude, Where's My Car? Like obviously he was in The Butterfly Effect, which we love, but he's not like a like he's kind of like a hot guy from the early 2000s. He gives like very American Pie
Yeah,
vibe.
exactly. And he has not evolved past that. And it is
No.
beautiful to see that she is having her comeuppance right as he is like crashing and burning and being taken down by the Diddy stuff. So
Yes,
that's sweet, sweet justice, if you ask me.
it is.
And I think that's really all there is to say about the Oscars. Like I said, it really was just pretty uneventful.
Yeah, I'm ready to move
I'm
on.
ready to move on, but I will just leave the audience with this. Watch Anora.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to watch it, and the next week I want to talk about it with you.
Yeah,
I'm
I can't
sorry I
wait.
couldn't do that for this
That's
episode.
okay. There's a lot to talk about. Okay, let's move on to our TV
Yes.
recap because there's a lot of TV to recap. Should we start with Summer House?
Yes.
Okay, so where do we leave off with Summer House? It's the 4th of July. The gang is having everyone over for their annual 4th of July party. It looks really fun.
Hmm.
Honestly, every time they have a party at their house, I'm like, "Ugh, I want to go. I don't even drink. I don't party anymore. I don't want to leave my house, but like just seeing them partying and having fun, it just like makes me want to be there. I don't know about you.
Totally. But I do think it is really funny, like what you said earlier about what Paige was saying, how this is the first summer where she just like feels old. Like she's way more concerned with like the fit and looking good, which is how we are. And then there are these like young 25-year-olds who are just like blackout wasted, going down water slides. Like that is so not our era.
No, not at all.
I love how I say our as if like you, me, and Paige are like besties.
Right. No. And like, but like we just totally understand that mindset. Like we would never go to a party.
Yes.
Like we would go to a party like that and like take pictures and like sip on a drink
Right.
casually and like
Right.
talk to people and Bailey's like buck wild, like head first down the
Yes.
water slide, which like good for her
Yes.
as she should be. She's 25.
Totally.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting
Um,
that Paige said it's the first time she felt old because I'm like, girl, I've been feeling old since I was 27. So good for you that it took you until you were like 32 to feel this way.
Totally. I feel like she said this is the first summer I feel old.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Like she feels really like out of her element. But speaking of feeling old compared with the new cast members, I do want to talk about Lexi and Jesse.
Yes. I really liked Lexi's outfit at the party where she was wearing those like long denim shorts with like the bathing suit thong like hanging out. Did you catch
I don't
that?
even remember.
Honestly, it was just like that cool like Hailey Bieber thong look, but like for a pool party.
Okay.
Like she just always
I
looks
have
good.
to
Like she's
see.
hot, she's young.
She's really hot. Yeah.
Okay,
Um
let's Jesse and Lexi update.
okay, so last time we spoke, I actually had said that I have this sneaking suspicion because you were saying and a lot of people were saying like she's definitely the hottest girl he's ever been with. Like she's dated Brooklyn Beckham and I forget who else, some
Kaya
other
Gerber's brother.
right, Kaya Gerber's brother. So like she'll obviously have the upper hand. But I was like young girls like that, like girls that age, if an older guy who's hot is into them, it's kind of like game over. Like I feel like I don't care that you've dated Brooklyn Beckham. She clearly is really into Jesse.
Yeah, 100%.
And I kind of had this feeling that like it would peter out because she would be too into him.
Yeah. It was a classic bait and
And
switch.
right, and I think I'm correct. Because so in this episode, she basically kind of lays it out there like I don't want to really sleep with you unless I know for sure that we are only seeing each other, which I think is fair, fine. But it's such an extreme where she's like she introduced him to her parents.
They've known each other for
I don't
a
know.
week. That was
I
crazy.
think he's getting the creeps.
Yeah, I think he's freaked out for sure because someone asked him like how was your date or he was like good. Like he just like his
Yeah,
enthusiasm like completely depleted.
totally.
Yeah, that is I mean, she like laid it out on the line on that date that they went on. She was just like, I want to make sure that like you're only seeing me and like I'm a girlfriend girl. And he was just immediately I could see like the lights, the flicker behind his
Yes,
eyes like dim. He was just like, oh shit.
totally. He's like, I don't know. I feel like beating cancer last year. He's young. Like, let him go wild.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's like nowhere near ready to settle down.
No,
It's like, why would he want to settle down now? Like, all these girls are probably throwing themselves at him, all the Bravo
totally.
fans. Like, him and Wes
Totally.
are just like partying it up, like living their best lives. So,
I love West.
I know. I'm glad that we didn't get more like Wes and Sierra confrontation. I needed a break.
Just because it's like boring.
It's really boring, right? Because he doesn't speak.
Right. And she doesn't make sense when she speaks.
Right. So we get nowhere. And then,
We
I
get
mean, I feel like
nowhere.
this episode was largely uneventful. The next thing that happened is Kyle's party that he's DJing at, and Paige
Yeah.
shows the text, the rage text that Kyle sent to her to Sierra, and he's basically pissed about what Hannah said on a podcast. Hannah basically insinuated or flat out said that Kyle is the reason she got fired from Summer House. And he's like, that's not true. I don't have the power to fire anyone. But then Paige in her confessionals was like, we all know that's what happened, Kyle. And I 100% believe that. Also, Paige, like, why would she lie about that?
I didn't realize that though.
Yeah, I think, well, he was mad at her because at the time, this is what she said on the podcast. She did like a sponsorship with Truly, and he like went
Oh
ballistic on her
yeah.
because she was supposed to be promoting Loverboy and not like having other like contracts with like other spike seltzer companies.
And they also just like really did not get along that summer. Like she was like mean to Amanda.
Yeah, no, that was like her downfall. It was really
Yeah.
bad. And I wouldn't, and Kyle does hold a lot of power. Like he's basically a producer on the show. So
Yeah. I mean, just because he's been there for
if
so
he wanted
long.
Hannah out, I'm sure the producers took that into consideration.
Totally. But I mean, either way, whether that happened or not, the point of this argument was like, why is Kyle texting Paige about things that he's upset that Hannah
Well, that's
did?
part one. And then part two is he's mad that Craig became an investor in uh Spritz Society, which is like boy with no
Right.
job and girl with no jobs, seltzer company. So again, it's just like that's what Craig did, that's what Hannah did. Like, what does that have to do with Paige?
Right. Clearly he really trusts her and feels like he can confide in her, but there's also this element where because he thinks they're so close, he thinks that he could just like abuse her when he wants because he's not close enough with Hannah or Craig to text them directly, so he's going through Paige and it's just Paige is like I don't want to be involved in this.
Yeah, exactly. And Paige is like, I feel like handles her shit like a grown up. She's like, if you have a problem with Hannah, if you have a problem with Craig, like take it up with them. Like, I'm not getting in the
Totally.
middle of this. I just think she said, I don't know if she said it on this episode or it's like a preview for next week when she was like, you call me and tell me about problems you're having with your wife, and like I don't tell your wife.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is like really messy that Amanda's
Totally.
her best friend, but her Kyle calls her to like talk about their marital problems, and then Paige doesn't tell Amanda what Kyle says. Like she's way too involved in their
I
relationship. That's
agree.
really unhealthy.
I wonder how close Amanda and Paige actually are because I don't know. I feel like they might just be really close on Summer House when they're
I
filming.
know. I think it's one of those things like they are genuinely friends and close, but I wonder if they weren't filming this reality TV show, how close they would actually be.
Totally.
Yeah, it's just like they're
Like I feel like
coworkers.
Paige's life is so full.
Yeah. Oh my God. The comments about, I've been seeing like such crazy comments about like how Amanda needs to divorce Kyle. And one of them was like, Amanda is so close to realizing that her chronic fatigue and depression is caused by Kyle.
That is so funny. I've always been a big Kyle
I
fan.
know. And we've talked about this. We both um think that he has a good heart. Like he definitely like fucks up
He's
and
just so
immature.
funny.
Um, but like I just think that they're like wrong for each other. I mean, clearly maybe I take that back. I just think that like they have a lot of issues that like they still haven't worked through. Like I genuinely still believe that Amanda hasn't forgiven him for when he cheated on her, which is like
Yeah.
then you shouldn't have married him if you can't
I just
forgive.
I agree. I also just feel like he sort of captured her youth. Like, she didn't really get to explore anything when she was in her early 20s, mid 20s, and he was already in his like late 30s.
Yeah, it's true.
So he kind of knew what he wanted, and she was still figuring it out and was kind of like, you know, captured by him.
Right. I know. And then it's like the fact that they got into business together and then they're on the show together
Right.
and like their lives are so entangled that I just like hope that she doesn't feel trapped and like that she can't leave if she wanted to. Which I sometimes get the vibe
Yeah.
that like she kind of doesn't want to be with him but doesn't have the courage to break up with him.
Well, I think like so much of her identity has become wrapped up in who he is, and she doesn't really have her own identity, which I think was kind of like a subplot of last
It
season.
was Sierra and Paige were like, you don't see how amazing you are. Like, you don't see the girl that we
Yeah.
see. I mean, I'm happy that
Yeah.
she has her bathing suit line. Like, I think
I didn't even know she had a bathing suit
that was
line.
like a subplot last year, and I think we'll find out more like on this season. But like, it was always a dream of hers to like design bathing suits, and she has like a partnership with South Moon Under that just came out a few weeks ago. And they were really cute. Honestly, I was looking at a few of the bathing suits. Like, definitely
Okay.
I think it's great. Like, I'm happy that she's starting to like do things outside of Loverboy, outside of Kyle. Like, it's just
Yeah.
something that she can own for herself. Like, yes, girl, like use your platform.
Get
You
it.
should be doing this. This
Totally.
is what Paige has been doing for years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm also excited for like when Craig comes to the house and we can see like Kyle and Craig hash it out.
Yes, interesting
And like
dynamic.
I was always so team Craig like when it all went down, but now that I like remember that Craig is kind of like a liar and a pussy and I think that like I'm so team Paige in the breakup, I'm kind of like I don't know, maybe Kyle isn't all wrong here.
Totally.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you turned me on to Craig. I didn't like him from the first time I met him. I met him for the first time um in the season of Summer House where Lindsay tells Paige that he was hooking up with Kristen.
yes, yeah, yeah.
And I really did not like the way he handled that. He kind of like yelled at Paige and Lindsay, but then he like redeemed himself and I thought he was like cute. But I don't know. I'm
Yeah, that was they
jury's out.
didn't.
I'm really not sure.
And then it like honestly, I'm so glad you brought that up because I honestly think that Paige like the part of like the reason she was so excited to be with Craig was kind of like there was this competition between her and Kristen. And it was almost like she won
Mm,
over Kristen Cavallari, which is like, I don't know, like I feel like it made Paige feel like good about herself. Like it was like a power play. I'm like completely speculating. Like this is just
that
me.
is like such a good
And
point.
then like once the thrill of that wore off and she was like, oh no, like he wants
Now I'm stuck with
now I'm
you.
stuck with you and you're kind of annoying and now you want to like move to like be with me and like I don't want to marry you and I don't want to have kids with you and like I'm trying
Totally.
to like be a huge star. Like so
Right.
that's like one of my working theories.
No, I really I appreciate that theory. I think it makes a lot of
And I just
sense.
think that Paige has always had bigger like hopes for herself in terms of who she's going to settle down with. Like she will be with a billionaire. I really do believe that.
Totally.
I think that's what she wants for herself and she'll get it. Reach for the stars, Paige.
No, definitely.
Okay. Well, I think that that ties up Summer House. Emily, this has been so much fun as always. Love
Yes.
recording with you. We'll be back.
Always.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you like Middle Part, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube now. You can listen on Spotify and Apple
Yay.
Podcasts. And thanks so much for listening. Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.